Welcome back to The Coin's world, where pocket change becomes treasure, and everyday coins tell incredible stories. Today, we're diving into two of the most fascinating and often misunderstood half dollars in the Kennedy series, the 1971D and the 1993D. These two coins may not sparkle with silver, and they might not scream rare at first glance, but what lies beneath their surface is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. From major U.S. mint changes to lesser-known varieties and collector intrigue, each of these half dollars holds historical weight and hidden value. Whether you're a long-time numismatist or just starting your collecting journey, these two coins should not be ignored. Let's kick things off with a deep dive into the powerful story behind the 1971D Kennedy half dollar. The year 1971 marks a huge turning point in the history of U.S. coinage. That's because it was the first year the Kennedy half dollar was struck without any silver for circulation. From 1965 to 1970, these coins were produced with a 40% silver content, reduced from the original 90% silver of the 1964 issue. But starting in 1971, the U.S. Mint transitioned the half dollar to a copper-nickel-clad composition, the same material already used in dimes and quarters. This change marked the full shift away from silver coinage in everyday circulation, and the 1971D Kennedy half dollar became the first of its kind, modern, metallic, and non-silver, yet still iconic. Struck at the Denver Mint, the 1971D half dollar bears a D-mint mark just above the 1 in the date on the obverse. Over 302 million of these coins were minted, making it one of the most common Kennedy half dollars ever made. But don't let that number fool you. There are still reasons to keep your eyes on this coin. The obverse of the 1971D, like all Kennedy halves, features the classic portrait of President John F. Kennedy facing left. This design was created by Gilroy Roberts and was fast-tracked into circulation following JFK's tragic assassination in 1963. Above Kennedy's head is the inscription, "Liberty," and the phrase, "In God We Trust," is split across the neckline. The date, 1971, is centered below his neckline, with the D mint mark resting above it. Even in circulated condition, the portrait is powerful, Kennedy's legacy captured in timeless simplicity. The reverse design, by Frank Gasparro, is the presidential seal, a heraldic eagle clutching an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. A Union shield adorns the eagle's chest, and a circle of stars and rays surrounds its head. The inscription, "United States of America," arcs above, and half dollar sits boldly below. It's a strong symbol of America's resilience, perfectly suited for a coin honoring a beloved president. Now, in fine condition, the 1971D Kennedy half dollar shows moderate wear. The high points of Kennedy's hair, especially above the ear and around the crown, are flattened. His cheek and jawline lose definition, and light wear spreads across the fields. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are typically smoothed out, particularly on the wings, legs, and tail. Despite the wear, the major design features are still easily recognizable, which makes it a solid example for beginner collectors. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1971D is the error potential. While the majority of these coins are common, several valuable mint errors and varieties have surfaced over the years. One of the most famous is the 1971D struck on a 40% silver planchet, a major transitional error. This happened because leftover silver-clad blanks from the 1970 production year were accidentally used at the Denver Mint in 1971. These coins were not supposed to exist. The only way to identify them is by weighing them. Silver planchets weigh about 11.5 grams, while the standard-clad coins weigh 11.34 grams. A few verified examples of this error have sold for over $10,000 at auction. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike, where the design is not fully centered on the planchet. Examples with a clear date and visible mint mark are highly sought after. Coins that are 10 to 20% off-center can sell for $100 to $300 or more, depending on eye appeal. Die varieties also exist. Clashed dies, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, have been found on 1971 half dollars. This leaves ghost-like impressions from the opposite design elements and is especially visible in the fields. Another notable variety includes die cracks and cuds, where the damage or wear to the die leaves raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. Now, let's talk about market value. In fine condition, the 1971 half dollar is usually worth face value, though some coin shops will pay around 75 cents to $1 depending on bulk demand. In uncirculated condition, this coin becomes more interesting. A bright, well-struck 1971 in mint state 65 condition can sell for $20 to $50, and anything graded mint state 66 or higher with clean fields and full details can easily command $100+ from registry set collectors. So, what makes the 1971 so important despite its commonness? It's the start of a new age for American coinage. It represents the end of silver in everyday transactions. It's a coin that every Kennedy collector needs, not because it's rare, but because it changed the series forever. And for those lucky enough to find one of the rare silver planchet errors or off-center strikes, it could be worth far more than you imagine. Keep searching. The best finds are often hidden in the most ordinary places. Next up is a modern gem that's flying under the radar. The 1993 Kennedy half dollar, minted in Denver. By this time, Kennedy half dollars were no longer widely circulated. Most Americans didn't use them in daily life, and they were increasingly minted in lower numbers. But for collectors, especially those focused on the Kennedy series registry, coins like the 1993 are essential and often overlooked. The mintage for this coin was 15,876,000, making it a relatively low production year compared to earlier decades. For context, this is significantly lower than the 1971 and many of the 1980s issues. Lower mintage doesn't always mean rarity, but in modern coins, it certainly raises eyebrows, especially for those assembling full sets. As with all Kennedy half dollars, the obverse shows John F. Kennedy's profile facing left. The design by Gilroy Roberts is bold, clean, and steeped in meaning. Above his head is Liberty, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," is divided across the neckline and cheek. The date, 1993, anchors the lower center, and the D mint mark, signifying the Denver Mint, sits just above the 3. The reverse, by Frank Gasparro, is unchanged and features the majestic presidential seal. An eagle, clutching arrows and an olive branch, is centered within a circle of 50 stars. The inscription, United States of America, surrounds the top, and half dollar appears boldly below. In fine condition, the 1993 half dollar will exhibit moderate wear across Kennedy's hair and cheek, with some flattening in the highest points. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and tail feathers are smoothed out, and the fields may show circulation marks. While not perfect, this level of wear still preserves the coin's beauty and collectability. Though the 1993 wasn't struck in silver or used in wide circulation, it holds its own in the market due to some notable error types and growing collector demand. A small number of off-center strike examples have been found, as well as misaligned dies, where one side of the design is tilted compared to the other. These are fun and visually striking errors, with clean date examples selling for $50 to $150 depending on condition and rarity. Die clashes, where the reverse design lightly transfers to the obverse, are also found on the 1993 issue. These are subtle and often require magnification, but error collectors love them. There are also a handful of reports of struck-through grease errors, where parts of the design are missing due to debris blocking the die, particularly in the lettering of half dollar or the eagle's wings. These oddities may fetch $25 to $100 depending on severity and visibility. High-grade mint state examples of the 1993 are very collectible, especially because not many people save them in pristine condition. In MS-65, these coins often sell for $25 to $40. Certified MS-66 examples jump to $80 to $120, and anything in MS-67 or higher can go for $200+, especially if the coin has strong eye appeal, clean fields, and full detail. Even more valuable are full strike specimens, where the details in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers are sharp and fully defined. These types of strikes were somewhat rare in the early 1990s due to aging dies and reduced die maintenance, so fully detailed coins are hard to come by. So why should collectors care about the 1993D? It's the combination of low mintage, limited circulation, and the difficulty of finding high-grade examples. It's also part of a transitional decade, when Kennedy halves were shifting from being struck for commerce to being struck primarily for collectors. This coin represents a fading era of general use for the half-dollar. The last few years before these coins became almost exclusively for numismatic purposes. It might not be flashy, it might not be silver, but the 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar is a modern key-date sleeper that deserves a spot in every collection. It's affordable, historically relevant, and packed with error potential. And if you're lucky enough to find one with an unusual strike or pristine fields, you might just be holding something truly special. So there you have it, the 1971 D and the 1993 D Kennedy half-dollars. Two coins from different decades, each carrying its own story of change, error, and overlooked value. Whether you're hunting rolls, building a registry set, or just chasing your next great find, keep your eyes open for these powerful pieces of numismatic history. Thanks for watching NT Coins World. And remember, treasure isn't always gold. Sometimes it's just 50 cents.